Welcome to the Bruins Benders Podcast, Season 4, Episode 25 with Maddie and Smitty. It's not a retool, brought to you on the Inside the Rink Podcast Network at InsideTheRink.com. In this episode, we will discuss all sorts of things. And here we are on the YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe. And it's all a surprise. Go ahead and download this QR code on your screen to get tickets through Ticketmaster for all your great events, including the last, half dozen of games left at TD Garden for this season. And the new season starts October the 7th. So you can get them maybe for next season very soon. So do it right through that QR code. And here we are. It's not a retool. In fact, It's probably a major rebuild. And this is the second of two paths. Yeah.
One of those things.
There it is.
They looked at the path and they were like, yeah, I think we're going to go further than that. I think we're going to blow the whole damn thing up. We're going to trade our captain. We're going to trade Brandon Carlo. We're going to trade Charlie Coyle. We're going to trade veterans from our core for what has been the core here for a long time. And they just jettisoned them. See you later, fellas.
Yeah.
Thanks for your service. Thank them. Thank their families. Thank their children. Thank their dogs. Thanked all the pets, all the people, everybody who has anything to do with the particular players were thanked profusely. That's the Bruins way. It is a family after all. It is not a business, and it shouldn't be treated as such. It should be treated as a family affair.
Yeah, where all the emotion and all the sentimentality.
Yeah, where everybody's just, happy all the time and no one's held accountable. You can play the game of life and shoots and ladders and Candyland. And Fantasyland is where the Bruins management lives. And that's how they have dealt with this team for a long time. And maybe they're finally turning the corner.
Could be. I don't know. I mean, again, as we've talked about on the post games, it's going to be a real undertaking to try to get people to come there. And
there is,
Marner and Bennett and some of those guys may sign where they are. And then it gets thin real quick.
It does.
And really no game changers on there. So I'm not sure what you do. You don't have a lot of assets left. You traded them all, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you trade a Poitras and a Lohrei and first picks, a high first draft pick, I guess you could do that for somebody. But then that's got to be someone who's a game changer, someone really good, someone who's has some term. Like you can't do that.
Yeah. So even that thing, I feel like if you're going to trade those pieces away, you're not one player away. So I don't know if that's really the best, avenue for them to go down.
No,
they really should be looking at trying to develop those young players and then adding through free agency so they don't have to give anything away. Yeah. There's been some reports out there, rumors out there. It's rumors really at this point in time, but saying, people are, there's fans of Marner within the organization and certainly the media who are clamoring for him for the Bruins to make a bold move. And that would certainly be one to bring a guy like Marner in. Will they go above Pasternak's AAV to do it? Time will tell. But if he doesn't re-sign in Toronto, I think the Bruins will be among a majority of suitors. There will be a lot of people lining up to sign him. I've also heard Brock Besser's name and Nikolai Ehlers' name thrown about, and either one of those guys, along with Marner, 2 out of the 3, whatever you want to do, the Bruins need that kind of offseason really to rebound this thing and get them moving back in the right direction sooner rather than later, or it's going to be a fairly long rebuild, I think.
Yeah, it is. And it could be fairly long anyway. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, this is not a great spot. No. And you have a GM involved that's, you're unsure of if he can rebuild the thing. Some say, yeah, he rebuilt it in 2015 and they got to the finals in 19. Yeah, but he had a core there that was still really good. And now there's a little bit of a core here, but I just don't think there's a lot of the pieces in place. I mean, you had Marchand and Krejci and Bergeron and Chara and guys that were, either borderline or sure Hall of Famers in that group. And, You may have one right now that's headed to Hall of Fame status. So, I don't know. You gave the goaltender $8.25 million for 8 years, whatever it was. Hasn't been great. So, there's a lot there to be done, and I'm just not sure. I just not sure of Sweeney's plan, and I'm not sure he has a real definitive plan. So that's what really makes me nervous.
It should make you nervous because I don't believe he has a plan either. I don't think he knows the type of team he wants to build. I don't think he has a particular type of player in mind. I don't think they're great with development. I don't think they're great drafting. I think he does the trade thing pretty well. I mean, and that's been kind of reinforced with this trade deadline. Other than the Marchand trade, I think everybody was pretty happy with all the returns they got for the other players. And the Marchand thing, he was kind of held over a barrel. I mean, partially through their own fault. But again, with Marchand, they weren't willing to go to his number. So that's their fault. But, at the end of the day, I don't really blame them for that. But then they did Marchand a solid, sending him to Florida. So they were kind of hamstrung in the return that they were going to get. But overall, with the trades, he's done a pretty good job with that. Now, can he do that with identifying people in the draft? Remains to be seen, kind of. Can they develop young players? That certainly remains to be seen because there hasn't been, as you pointed out in the last post game, other than John Beecher, you can't really think of anybody that's developed there and come up and played in the NHL. And even he has been a disappointment. As a first round pick, he offers next to nothing. And he gets a lot of chances that he probably shouldn't get. And, I've been a critic of his and don't really want him on my hockey team. You think they'll re-sign him, and you're probably right because he is a first round pick. He's a Sweeney guy, and he's got speed and he penalty kills and, I guess does the little things. What those little things are, in my opinion, are penalties and fumbling passes. But, I guess I'll disagree with the Bruins management on the assessment of the player. But, they haven't done very well with player development. They don't give young players a chance, really. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But I'm with you. I'm worried about him kind of building this roster from the ground up. I'm very leery of some of the decisions that he has to make going forward.
And look at the track record of all their top 10 picks they've had. All of them were gone by the time a next contract came up. Like they weren't franchise people, players for them. They were for other teams,
right?
But they weren't for them. I mean, Hamilton and Sagan and Thornton, and I mean, there's so many of those top picks that Bergeron was a second rounder, Krejci was a second rounder, Marchand was third rounder, third rounder. Lucic was not a first rounder. Those guys. So that's what kind of makes me nervous too. Is every single top pick they had was gone for one reason or another. So I'm really concerned, like why that's happening, and if that happens with this player that they pick at 7 or 8 or 6 or whatever it is. So that's another thing to worry about. Is this player in for the long haul? He's going to hit with it. It's going to be Zach Hamill, or is it going to be Joe Thornton? And are you going to be able to retain Joe Thornton? You're going to fall out of favor with him, because he's a top pick, and you get frustrated and you expect a certain level because you picked him high. And I don't know, but it just seems like every single time they had a top pick in the draft, they've traded him within a few years, and that's not comforting either. So
it's not, and it's worked out for the other teams more than the Bruins. The return that they've gotten for all those players has been poor,
right? And all those players were really good.
Yeah,
ended up having long careers, being really good players. Joe Thornton's like one of the best players of the last 20 years, points wise.
Yeah, didn't he win MVP of the league the following year?
He did this following year. Yeah. And people talk about his postseasons and all that. Sure, I get it. But Jesus, he has, among the most points in the last 20 years of anybody.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Plus, so I don't know. So it's not comforting.
It certainly isn't.
No. All right. Seven Chirp, sponsored by Lobster Brewing. Lobster Brewing and Tasting Room in downtown Woonsocket, Rhode Island, specializing in small batch ales and lagers. Open 7 days a week. Use the coupon code SPORTS to get 10% off your online order. Go to lobsterbrewing.com and follow them at Lobster Brewing for new beers and events. And congrats to Lobster Brewing for getting into some restaurants and bars around the Woonsocket, Rhode Island area. That was nice to see today.
Yeah, you're going to be seeing Lops out at restaurants and bars in Rhode Island. They have a distribution, company now. So you'll be seeing it more and more around Rhode Island, and hopefully soon they'll venture out into Massachusetts. But for now, go down to Rhode Island, go down to, they'll be adding more restaurants, every day. So look for them out there.
Brewing in Rhode Island. Yeah,
out and about.
Sure. All right. Chirp one. Ty Gallagher signs 2-year AHL deal. Can't play with the Bruins until he signs an NHL deal, but it also doesn't use up a roster spot. So they're still at, I think, 45 out of 50.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a kid that, sort of fizzled out at BU, spent a year at Colorado College his senior year, and had a great year. He's 11th in Hobie Baker rankings. Kind of a late bloomer, 22 years old, and right shot D-man, decent size, 6 foot, almost 200. I think it's a good deal. They don't use up a roster spot. They give him a 2-year AHL deal. They give him an amateur tryout the end of this year just to give it a look.
Yeah, and he produces a little bit of offense. So that's certainly a positive. Defenseman with 9 goals and 17 assists. 26 points in 35 or so games.
Yeah.
That's nothing to sneeze at. So, it's definitely worth the look. And obviously, if the Bruins like what they see, they can sign him to a 2-way deal, and he'll have the opportunity maybe some point down the line to play in Boston. He's a right D; those are harder to find. An offensive right D, even more so.
Sure.
So it's worth taking a chance on. So good for him. Good for the Bruins. Adds another prospect. And we've talked at length about how poor their prospect pool is. So anytime you can add a prospect that's, maybe a little bit harder to come by, a right shot offensive defenseman, I think it's a good move overall.
And after McAvoy and with Carlo gone, their right shot D, there might be an issue coming up.
Yeah. I mean, you have Peeke and Yoki Haryu's unrestricted free agent. So
and Peeke only has a year left.
You have some space there. You have some opportunity there on the right side. For somebody to win a job, or maybe they re-sign Yoki Haryu, who's looked pretty good in the limited time that they've had him. So it's gives them a little bit of depth and a little bit of insurance in case of injury, maybe. Down the line. So, I mean, obviously they'd have to sign him to an NHL or a 2-way deal to have him play in Boston, but a little bit of insurance for now.
Yeah. So 2 more to go. I think Jonathan Myrenberg was at Providence Bruins practice today.
Yes.
He has until October 5th. August 15th. So does Jake Schmaltz. Jake Schmaltz is more of a long shot, I think. But Myrenberg is another defenseman. Didn't have a great year, and he's battled some injuries big time.
I think Myrenberg might be June 1. I think he might be
June 1. That's right, June 1.
I think he's June 1. I think Schmaltz and Gallagher were August 15th.
August 15th,
but I think,
right. So even earlier. Yeah. So Myrenberg only played 18 games, had some injuries, and has really battled them, played for light coping. So, we'll see what happens with him. Coming up here.
Yeah, he's a big kid, and he's a really good skater for his size. He's 6'3", and he's a big kid. So you don't find guys, defensemen, that can skate like that. So it's worth maybe bringing him in on a similar type of deal to Gallagher. I don't know if he's a left shot. I think he's the left shot. You said, right?
I think he's left. Yeah.
So again, though, adding a guy in that can add some depth to the organization. You might lose some guys. You have some guys coming up as UFAs and RFAs there in Providence that you could lose potentially. So to sign a couple guys in, just adds to the depth.
No, he's a right shot. It's a right shot. So there you go. 6'3", 190 in a right shot. So another right shot guy. Okay. Let's see if they sign him to an AHL deal. It's coming quick though. So
It
let's
is.
see. Chirp 2. So John Butchergross was on this random podcast that I saw a quick highlight of, and they asked him where Brad Marchand and Mitch Marner might be going next year. And he said Marchand would like to stay in the Northeast. And after a pause, he said, "You know what? I'll go Montreal. Montreal could be looking for a veteran guy, winger. They could make the playoffs this year. They're in position to do so. If they do, then maybe they find him as a good piece for next year to try to make a similar run, deeper run. So he's a Nova Scotia guy.
Yeah.
So maybe Montreal could be on the ticket. But as you said in a chat earlier today, he had to be, I guess, pretty much putting a middle finger up to the Bruins if he goes to Montreal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, him going to Montreal, I mean, that would be like, yeah, that's, the biggest rival or their biggest rival for a long time. Now, is it the same now as it was? No. So maybe he doesn't feel about the Canadians like we do. And maybe, to him, it would be more like signing with Toronto or even Florida. So, he might be, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say he is more pissed than he's letting on.
I think he is a little more agitated.
Yeah. I think he was really hurt by the fact that the Bruins didn't accept his offer when they met face to face. I think he thought it would get done. And when it didn't, he was probably hurt by it. So could I see him going to Montreal? Yeah, I think I could. I think because I think he's more pissed off about the whole situation and the way that it ended than he's letting on. He was gracious in the media, and he certainly showed emotion during the press conference in Florida about his time here. And he was still, it was difficult for him not to say, us when he was talking about the Bruins, even though he was wearing Florida stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. But if the Bruins have any inkling of bringing him back or anything like that, there's going to be some fences to mend there, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's not a bad fit.
Montreal. It really is.
For a team and player, all things aside, not a bad fit. I mean, that's a youngish team that's playing pretty well this year and in a spot right now in the second wild card spot. Like they have a real chance to make the playoffs and maybe cause some fits in the first round for somebody. And maybe next year they think he's a piece. And I think that's not a bad fit at all for him. I don't think he's coming back here to play.
No,
I don't think that's on the table at all.
No.
I think it's done. I don't think the Bruins wanted him back that badly.
No, if the Bruins wanted him back, they would have done it.
They would have done it.
Opportunity.
There wasn't that much money of it, much difference of money.
No,
from what's reported to not get it done unless you really wanted the guy.
Yeah, I mean, if he was asking for, say, Elias Lindholm money, and you were offering what he was making now, that's only like $1.5 million. Yeah, that's a gap that you can certainly bridge. If you want a guy and he's been your captain and been in the organization for 16 years or whatever it is, like there was room there to make a deal. The Bruins just didn't want to, so he's not going back there. I mean, he's not going back there.
He's not.
And I think Montreal is a good fit. I think he would provide some good veteran leadership to a young team, like you said. So
I just find it funny. There's always a little bit of leakage from a team.
Yeah.
When a longtime player leaves, there's always a little bit of leakage after the fact. We've seen it with other teams in the city, and the Bruins kind of say, "Well, we actually convinced the Jacobs in 3 years." Well, it was actually not $3 million a year. It was at least his AAV, maybe a little more. Like, and some leakage that comes out, and then quickly Marchand's camp shuts up after that. Yeah, because he just doesn't want to be in bad favor with fans. So he eerily, as producer Connor said earlier today in our chat, like eerily he quieted down and hasn't really said much since then, and then stayed in the locker room in the Panthers game and has really been under the radar since. So leads me to believe that he played a little hardball. They didn't want him bad enough, and they parted ways. Yeah, and that was it. So. And he's not coming back unless it's a one day, 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, like Chara.
Yeah, that's what it'll
probably
be.
what it's going to be.
Yeah.
But for now, no.
There'll be a thaw, in a few years' time when he feels like he wants to hang it up, and the Bruins will sign him back to a one-day contract and retire a Bruin.
Get all romantic.
Another thing that's interesting about it is, the Montreal connection. Patrice Bergeron's agent, JP Barry, now is the GM in Montreal, or Kent. Not JP Barry.
No, it's Kent.
I can't think what
Hughes is a no Kent. Yes.
Producer Connor.
It's Ken Hughes.
Ken Hughes.
Right.
So he's the GM now in Montreal. So there's another probably little connection there that
Well, you remember when there was talk about Bergeron probably possibly going there? People were speculating on that. So that is true. Like JP Barry's with Pastrnak.
Yeah.
But Ken Hughes. That there's a connection there too.
There's a connection there. I mean, it's through Bergeron, but I'm sure Marchand has been around him quite a bit, and he's familiar with Marchand, obviously, from his time representing Bergeron, and also being the GM up there. So, a little bit of a connection there. So it's not that far fetched, really.
We shall see. We shall see. All right, trip number 3. Fabian Lysell recalled, and Joe Sacco says he's going to play in the West Coast trip. Looks like he has, I guess, earned his time now. All of a sudden. 11 goals, 23 assists in 51 games, a plus 11. Pretty good stats for a guy whose defensive deficiencies were a major issue at the beginning of the year. Seem to be getting better. And Joe Sacco even said his 200-foot game is much better now, and has lent us to believe that we can, give him a shot now and blah, 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 because everybody has to be Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah.
So now Lysell gets a chance, and hopefully they give him a chance like with some legitimate players. And not on the fourth line with a couple of ham and eggers.
That's what I'd like to see, is him get a legitimate shot. But the problem is, outside of the Geekie, Zacha, Pastrnak line, there isn't any more guys that aren't ham and eggers.
I mean, it's Casey Middlestat. Put him with him, and Kuznetsov.
Maybe it's Middlestat and I don't know who's the other left wing. I have no idea.
I don't know.
Really don't.
Lauko? It's Lauko, I think.
Well, it's Lauko, Lindholm, and Kuznetsov, I think, are a line.
Oh, it is.
And then it's
another guy.
Koepke, Middlestat.
Lettieri is on the right. Yeah.
So maybe it's Koepke, Middlestat, Lysell.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
And Lettieri goes down and plays with because I think Elias Lindholm might be the one that's banged up a little bit. So
he is banged up. Yeah.
Maybe it's Lauko, Kuznetsov plays center, and then Lettieri plays right wing on that line. Maybe, I don't know.
Is Merkula ready to kill small puppies right now?
I mean, he should be. He should be.
Honestly.
Look.
I mean, he has to be gone, right? He's going back to Russia next year, right? I mean, he wouldn't do this again next year, right? I mean, it just seems like they don't like him, and he can't do anything possible to get any more chances. So what else is there to do? And he's going to be 25 next year. I mean, are they just going to move on from the guy?
Yeah, I feel like he'll either leave and go back to the KHL, or they'll look to put him in a deal to trade him. I think maybe they'll give him a showcase kind of a thing at the end of the season. But they'll probably look to move him at the draft or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say
I don't know. I don't know what else he can do to prove that he needs
at least to give a chance. Just to get a chance.
Yeah. He should get it. I mean, he should be up right now. I mean, what are they doing? I mean, what are they doing?
Well, they're trying to win the Calder Cup.
He should be up. Lysell should be up. Poitras should be up. Minten should be up. All those guys should be. I mean, Fraser Minten's played like 14 NHL games or something. So
he has played 15.
I mean, he can play at the NHL level. Why isn't he playing at the NHL level? What are you playing him in Providence for?
He's got to be better than half the guys you have. He has to be.
I mean,
or you suck. Or you really suck. He has to be.
I just don't. I mean, we've gone through it a bazillion times. I just don't understand what they're doing development wise.
Why do you play 32-year-old Patrick Brown and 29-year-old Vinny Lettieri? Why?
I mean,
they have no future on the team.
No, but if you're talking about like, oh, they shouldn't get fourth line minute. Look, you have a team full of third and fourth line guys.
Yeah.
So there isn't any third and fourth line on this team anymore.
No.
There's a first line,
line.
And then there's 3 other lines that should all play like 5 minutes apiece. So if you split up the ice time between those guys, then there isn't. You can call whatever line Fraser Minten's on or Matthew Poitras on.
Matter. They're all the same.
You can call it whatever the fuck you want to. You can call it 1 and then 2A, 2B, and 2C if you want to. I don't give a fuck. But give them a chance. Let them play. Sorry, John.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
John.
Chirp 4. Could Boston end up with a top 5 pick?
Yes.
They can. They'd have to drop a couple to like San Jose, Anaheim, Buffalo again.
Here we go.
There's a couple in there, but right now they're at 9 slot. They're at 9 slot. They're not far from 5, which is Philadelphia. So they are right within range. They play Pittsburgh, they play Anaheim, they play Buffalo, they play Chicago, and they play San Jose. So if you drop those, then you're creeping up the list.
Nobody's catching San Jose, I don't think.
No one's catching them. They're terrible. But I will say that I still think the Bruins are going to be right around 7. I think they're going to be in the 7th spot. Kind of no man's land. Maybe they creep up a couple and sniff the top 5. But I think it's going to be right around.
They're so bad on the road. I really do.
They are bad on the road, no doubt. They are bad on the road, and they haven't been good the last 2 games.
Yeah.
So it's possible. It really is. When you go to Vegas, you get waxed Thursday, and then you play San Jose Saturday night in a game that just doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot. Maybe lose to them too. I don't know.
Lose to them, sure.
No, they can lose to anybody in the stretch right here.
Yeah, anybody they're not good. So if they don't come to play, they could lose to anyone.
And they can't score. So you could lose 2-1 in a shootout to anybody.
Absolutely true. 100%.
Absolutely can. Yeah. Chirp 5, Fraser Minten, 4-point night in the AHL, had a hat trick.
Yeah.
Was their probably Toronto's second best prospect when acquired.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a little bit of a future, and that's all really Bruins fans ask for is somebody with a future who's not on the roster right now. Right. And Minten is certainly probably the top guy, and he may even be the top prospect right now.
He probably is the top prospect in their system right now. Yeah. Because Toronto had a better prospect pool than you, and he was second on their list. So that's better than anything on your list. Yeah. Especially since, Poitras
and 2 or 3 years in a row.
Poitras and Lohrei have essentially graduated off the list now. So he's probably the top guy. Yeah. And Merkulov, is in no man's land.
Yes. He's not even. I don't even consider him a prospect anymore.
He's like you said, he's 25. I mean, he's 25. I mean, who knows? 25 in Russian might mean he's 32. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's another thing. Sure. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. Could be 30. Is it like the Dominican Republic? I mean, whatever. Yeah, it could be 32. Sure.
Could be. His name might not even be Georgi Merkulov. It might be something else altogether. Yeah. Might be Alexei Zamnov. Who knows? I don't know.
So he's the reincarnation of Alexei Yashin.
Yeah.
Georgi Grigory Pantaleev. That's more like it. That's more like it. Pantaleev had a better career.
Yeah, Dmitry Kovatanov. Let's his name on that.
He was for like a year and a half.
Yeah, he was.
All right, Chirp 6. How are the new additions adjusting? I mean, Case of Menestat's shown some signs, and then some signs that he isn't. Other new additions, Yoki Haru, I agree. He seemed to have really developed instant chemistry with Zadorov.
Yes.
So that's something to look forward to next season if they do sign him. And I think they can get Yoki Haru for, some short money. I don't think it's going to be this major deal. They could get him for like a Clifton type of deal, 3 times 3, 3 times 3.5, something like that. That'd be great.
He making now? Is he making 3 now? Or 3.5 now? I think he might be.
I think he's 3.5 now.
I think he might be.
So a little bit of a bump to 4.
So that might be a Brandon Carlo type of deal. Maybe not as long.
Yeah,
but it might be
1 year, 3.1. Yeah.
So you might be right. 3.5 might be 3.75. 3 times 3.75. 3 times 4, somewhere in there. Yeah. Which that'd be fine. I'd be fine with that.
That's fine, especially if that pair can be a third pair. That's pretty good. That's good together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fine. I think he's steady, and Zadorov can go and be an animal.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a, it seems to be a good match right now. And if they're playing 15 minutes a game, then I think that might be pretty good. You bump and Peeke up to second pair. He's in the last year of his contract. I don't know if they'll go out and try to get a defenseman. It might be smart to go out and see if they can get a defenseman, even though it's not sexy and you need offense. It might be smart to go get a guy who can play.
It'll be telling if they do go out and get a defenseman, what side he's on. Like if they go out and get a left shot defenseman, that does not bode well at all for Hampus Lindholm. Like, maybe his injury is a little worse than they're letting on. Maybe they don't think he's going to come back, something like that. If it's a right shot, then you're like, well, maybe Peeke, they don't think he can be a second pair D, or, maybe Yoki Hayu isn't in their plan. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And what level of guy they go after. Like if they go after a guy like Chychrun, that certainly is would be like a Hampus Lindholm replacement.
Yeah, sure.
And
Hampus Lindholm's another question altogether.
Well, that's what I mean.
That guy come back, then you really need one.
Right. I think that's what I'm saying is that, if you go out and you sign a left shot D, that's, you might not be feeling that good about where Hampus Lindholm is at.
That could be really telling what happens with there. Yeah, you're right. That's not great. I'm really concerned about it.
Yeah. It'll be
I'm saying it's weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they'll go there, but it'll be interesting to see what they do, because I think they will add on defense a little bit, but whether it will be a depth guy or a guy that's a more impact player.
Do you think they'll bring Wotherspoon, Mitchell, Callahan back? Any of those guys?
Wotherspoon, no. Mitchell, no. Callahan, maybe.
Yeah. I would probably agree. All right, Trip 7 NHL General Managers meeting tidbits. Today, they asked Gary Bettman about 3-on-3 extended time, and he said no. And the two reasons were questions about the ice conditions, and two was wear and tear on players, when in fact you have a high level intensity tournament in the middle of the season and no one gave a shit. And then you've talked about extending the regular season, which would actual wear and tear. And I'd like to see who gets hurt in 3-on-3 play.
I can't remember outside of a blocked shot or something.
Yeah, maybe a blocked shot. Sure.
Anybody getting hurt? Maybe a goalie getting run.
Maybe goalie. Yep.
But other than that, no. I mean, nothing. I mean, it wouldn't be anything more than not a hit, or it wouldn't be anything more than like a high stick catching someone in the the face, and you need stitches or something. Like, it's not going to. There's no open ice hits in 3-on-3.
No. Everybody's I do it for this reason alone. 3-on-3. I feel like the shootouts this year are down. The Bruins have had one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the numbers are this year as compared to last year, but I feel like the game pretty much gets decided in a 5-minute 3-on-3. If you go to 10-minute 3-on-3, I really feel like 99% of them get decided. I really do.
I would agree. I think they should do it for the regular season. I think they should. They should eliminate shootouts altogether. And go to a point. Yeah. If the only problem with that, and I can is that people might be playing for the tie. Like if they really need the point, they won't be going for the win. They'll defend and they'll pack it in, and they'll really play for the tie. It's tough to do on 3-on-3, but I could see that happening, especially later in the season. If teams need points to get into the postseason and they get into an overtime, they're going to be trying to steal that point and not go for the win, because they just want to make sure they get the 1 point.
Yeah, they milk. Yeah, because I've always said don't give the point until it's over, and have them play for 2. And if you lose, you never got a point. You don't get any points until the end of the game.
I think they shouldn't give points for making it to overtime at all. Anyway,
no, I don't think so at all. That's what I'm saying. I don't want that at all. I think that sucks.
I think whoever wins in overtime gets the point. If you don't win, you lose. You get 0.
Yeah, you lose. And I know why they don't extend the game longer is because in the arenas, the union workers you have to start paying them overtime if you go past a certain time. So they want to end the game within like a 2.5 hour time frame most of the time. So so I get that, but you wouldn't extend the game any longer by just playing 10 minutes of 3-on-3.
No,
it wouldn't be extended any longer. So
they could do a scrape like they do halfway before the shootouts. Anyways, halfway through the 3-on-3.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
Do a scrape and then go and play some more. Like,
well, they could just play 3-on-3 for 10 fucking minutes because you play a 20-minute period.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Jesus, Gary.
And there's not enough. There's not as many people on the ice.
No, there's 3 people on the ice, and it's pretty much on one end for half of it.
I mean, I think they do a scrape like along the benches, along the penalty box area and the goal creases during the TV timeout. So halfway through the fucking 3-on-3, just do the thing. Do what you normally do during a TV break.
The and benches. Yeah, great.
I mean, it's not fucking rocket science, really.
No, it's not. Make it harder. Hey, you know what else is not rocket science? Winning big money on DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook is Boston's hometown sportsbook. It's live right here in Massachusetts. Bet local on all your favorite sports from the comfort of your own home with DraftKings. To celebrate, all new customers will receive up to $150 in bonus bets when you sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook using code ITR. You can now bet local on money lines, spreads, props, and more with one of America's top-rated sportsbooks. That's DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up with the code ITR to get up to $150 in bonus bets to use now that mobile sports betting is live in Massachusetts. That's code ITR only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
If your loved one is experiencing problems with gambling, call 800-327-5050 or visit helplinema.org to speak with a trained specialist free and confidentially 24/7. Must be 21 plus, physically present in Mass. Eligibility restrictions apply, subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as free bets. Terms at DraftKings.com/MA.
I'll tell you, every time, like, can't get it right. I know people like it raw, and that's certainly raw. But my God, like, can't go without one blemish. Like, seriously, $100, $150. Who gives a fuck? We'll give you whatever. Just bet. You're gonna lose it anyway.
Just bet. Just spend all your money. I mean,
you're not winning.
Look, if you want to spend your money someplace, and I'm not telling you to take your money away from DraftKings. What I'm saying is, you bet at DraftKings, you win big. Then you go over to the Inside the Rink store. You click on Bruins Benders, and you spend your money on our goddamn merchandise.
Yeah, 20% off with code Sorry John.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Buy one of those new Rocks glasses. Those things are fantastic. I'm wearing right now. If you look at me, I'm wearing a long sleeve fucking Benders shirt right now.
That's a beaut.
Benders on the sleeve.
With down. Wow.
Got the logo. Got the big logo on the back. I'm not going to turn around because I'd knock all my shit over. But the big logo on the back. This thing is mint. It's excellent.
Wow, that's a great
one. You should go on there, buy some stuff. You'll do us a favor. You'll do ITR a favor.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
we can do this thing next year if you start.
Yeah. I mean, this is what you need to do to support the show. To keep us going, to keep the post game lives flowing. To keep us doing this in the off season. Someone's got to, give us a little enticement, give us a little bit of something to keep this thing rolling through the off season. So go on there, use the coupon code. Don't do yourself a favor and use the coupon code.
Take a little scratch off the top.
Yeah. Get some. Take a little off the top for yourself.
For you today, right here.
Here's who did we decide this was?
This is Mason Lohrei.
Cross between Mason Lohrei and who?
Mason Lohrei and Dustin Diamond.
Diamond. Cross between Mason Lohrei and Screech.
Yeah.
So there you go. Coupon code. Sorry, John. 20% off. Get fucking bent right there.
Get fucking bent.
Get fucking bent.
Yeah. Hey, beauty for this week, and it's not because it's tax day. April 15th.
Gonna love you, eh? They're gonna be loving you from dawn until dusk.
That is the end of the regular season for your Boston Bruins, and that will do it for a season that they won't make the playoffs for the first time since 15? It's 15.
Yeah, 15-16 season. Yeah.
Yeah, so 9 years, 9 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
They have made the playoffs every one, but not this year, it looks like. So April 15th will be the end of it. And then no hockey that means anything till October 7. It's a long stretch, longest stretch we've had in a while without Bruins hockey.
Yeah, we'll be there though during development camp and training camp. You're going to see us around a little bit more. We're gonna head to the rink a little bit more. We're going to try to be there in person a little bit more often, giving you our unique perspective on prospects and all goings on around the team as it leads into that new regular season. So look for that. That'll probably be early September. That shit starts.
Early September. That is right around the second week in September. They do that Prospects Challenge,
right?
And then they have
going up to Buffalo for that thing. We should maybe do that.
We should try doing that. I don't know if they talked about not doing it anymore.
Yeah, maybe.
I think
Carlo should put us up in a hotel in Buffalo anyways. We'll just go up there and walk around.
Yeah.
Have some buffalo wings and call it a day. Come
some
back.
Buffalo Sabres fans and
come back.
Program.
Yeah.
So Benders Summer Cooler coming up this summer.
Ooh, I like that sound of that.
Benders Summer Cooler.
Sound of that thing.
I bet you could use a cool run. Maybe we'll go around to different breweries and be like, hey, bet you could use a cool one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any backwash in that one or?
Yeah. Nah.
And the Bender is our good friend, Mr. Gary Bettman.
I'm a Bender.
He just can't make up his mind.
Oh my God.
Make up his mind on what he's doing, what he wants to do, what he's deciding to do. He talked about at the meetings today that he wasn't sure about the 2026 All-Star game. They're not sure what they're going to do with that thing because the Four Nations tournament kind of, took that area, that little piece of time there to a new level. So what do you do now with the All-Star game, All-Star week?
All-Star game.
So, I mean,
I don't know what you do.
I don't think you can hold a 2-week tournament every year. So it's not going to be that thing. So what should they do instead of the All-Star game? I have an idea. It's a terrible idea, and it's tongue-in-cheek, really, more than anything. But I have an idea. I'm going to put you on the spot. What should they do instead of the All-Star game next season?
Instead of the All-Star game? I think they should.
Because he doesn't know. There's something needs to replace the All-Star game, but it needs to has a little more, panache, a little more, a little more, views. It needs a little more eyes on it.
I'll tell you what they should do.
Yeah.
Is they should do something bigger and broader for the trade deadline. Instead, something where, you get live coverage and footage and, almost like a draft room experience with that. Yeah. And I wouldn't do any type of competition mid-year. I don't think people care about it anymore. I don't think people need it anymore. It used to be the All-Star games, you saw players from other conferences that you never saw on TV, like never saw them. Like in baseball, the National League, you never saw those players.
Right.
So you could see them on, prime time against your guys, Now that's all, everybody's on different teams and it's just nobody cares. And people make too much money to care about it. Yeah. And you've tried to, put postseason, restrictions on postseason things on it where you're going to, if you win this, you get this or whatever. I just think you don't do it.
Should they do and this isn't my idea, but I just thought of it just now. Should they do like all-star team against the Soviets, like the KHL all-star team,
Moscow Red Army type thing?
Yeah. Well, no, like so KHL all-stars against NHL all-stars in like a game. And that's not my idea. My idea is worse than that. But
a KHL against if they could kiss and make up with Russia and make it happen.
Russia and the United States now are best friends.
Now they're in bed.
I don't know. I mean, we're not going to get into politics.
One of the real benefits of Donald Trump is our new friendship with Russia. But I'll tell you, it's not a terrible idea if it's like on ABC 8:00. Like
that's what I'm saying.
If it's actually marketed correctly, it's not a terrible idea.
Yeah.
And if the Russians can play on the Russian team, I wonder if you could do KHL and then let the Russians who play in the league decide who they want to play with.
Yeah, I mean that would. I mean, they probably would be pressured by Putin to play on one team or another, or their families would be threatened to play on one team or the other.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that might not be a terrible idea. I think that might get some eyes. But my idea is a bare knuckle boxing match. Just having guys just fight.
Just fighting.
Have like a blood sport fight. Just at like center ice.
Wow.
Just take enforcers and let's have
after it.
Let's just have a round of like a
take your top Pims guys for the year.
Like a Golden Gloves competition for NHL players.
Okay.
And I think that would get all of the eyes. I think that would be ratings bonanza.
It definitely would.
It's a terrible idea, and no one would volunteer for it because people could get hurt. But in my stupid brain, I think that'd be
a great idea. And you know what? In 1978, that would have been an awesome idea and probably even done. But now the CTE lawsuits alone would be like just hard.
Like
to,
I said, it's a terrible idea. But in my head, that would be something that I would want to see.
You could actually get like if you get like the top eight guys in Pims by that date. Will do it. So you get guys like maybe 5 pim short, maybe getting a fight a couple games before. Like I want to get into that thing.
That thing. And then you give the guys some golden hockey gloves to win at 50 grand or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But, give them 500 grand. I don't give a shit. Yeah.
I know. It's not my fucking money. I don't care.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's what I want.
If Vince McMahon had a hockey league, he'd probably do it.
Yeah.
He'd do that.
Yeah.
You need someone to do that. It's not a bad idea. But the Russian thing isn't terrible. I just don't think you can do it well I just don't think you can do it well without like this year, guys got hurt that were important players.
Yeah.
Like Matthew Tkachuk's still out. Like there's it just causes too much.
Charlie McAvoy's still out.
Instability, right? You can make a case that maybe the Bruins don't make the playoffs because McAvoy's been out. Like you can make a case that they might have won a game or two with him.
Absolutely,
like, you can make that case. So, that really had an effect on your NHL season.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, would you rather have Ian Mitchell out there or Charlie McAvoy?
No, Jesus.
I think it's a pretty easy question.
That's why I don't love that whole competition mid thing. Like,
no,
I wouldn't mind like a 4 Nations like in like July. You know what I mean? Like do it like a 3-week July 4 Nations type of thing. Like do it in friggin', Austria somewhere. Like, I don't know, like something like that. But I just don't think in season you can do anything high competition wise.
I don't know.
Not affecting things.
Yeah, I agree. You'll definitely affect things. I just don't know if you could get guys to buy in the off season. Like they beat up enough during the season and, they haven't ramped up their training or they're preparing for the season in the off season. So that might be a tough sell, but I get your general idea of trying to move it out of the season so that, injuries and things like that wouldn't affect.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Season.
It's true. And then you have free agency coming July 1st. And but if a guy tears an ACL.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's tough too. All right. Hey, as Smitty said earlier, head over to the merch shop, grab some Bruins Benders merch, 20% off with the Sorry John code. Get a rocks glass, get a shirt, get whatever the hell you want on there. Get all sorts of things on there. Sweatshirts, hoodies, get the good stuff right on there and help support the show. Subscribe to the Inside the Rink YouTube channel. Join us after every game for the rest of the season. 13 games to go on YouTube for Bruins Benders post-game live. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Always a hopping good time. Give us a rate and review on Apple Podcast as well. Follow us on Spotify. We're on all the podcast platforms for these very episodes. And we'll do it right through the summer and into next season. And as always, go Bruins.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.